he had the car towed and had the tow truck driver take him to a motel. He ends up booking a room at a hotel. It was the Fairfield Inn.
Okay.
He entered in and exited the hotel a total of 5 times before deciding to book a room. The tow truck driver drops him off. You got to consider this was at 5 a.m. that he couldn't find his key. So it's probably going to take the tow truck driver a little bit to get there.
It was like 8 or 9
So
probably.
This is like early in the morning.
Yeah.
He's just walking in and out. I guess they have surveillance video
Looking
of him
crazy
walking
as fuck.
in and out of the hotel. The front desk clerk watching him, probably wondering, what is he doing? The desk clerk would later say that Blair Adams appeared annoyed, agitated, and paranoid, like he was looking around or waiting on someone.
So he's literally looking over his shoulder, basically.
Yeah, and the entering and exiting of the building, it was like he kept checking to see if somebody was outside, almost like he was going to meet someone.
Yeah, and consider that he's changed his plans with the one airport, got a rental, went down here, got another ticket more expensive. Now he's in another rental. I mean, he's done a lot. And to still think that people are on his heels, it speaks volume to that he has lost it. It sounds like he's lost it completely.
He finally did get that room, but then he immediately left the hotel. He never even went to his room, as far as they know. It didn't look like he had checked in. He hadn't carried any luggage in the room. The room was completely untouched.
People always go, after that day he's had with the cars being locked out and driving out everywhere, you would go wash up and take a nap. He didn't even go inside it.
The front desk clerk said he seemed very strange, and again, like he was waiting on someone. Again, this is like the third person in this day that has encountered Blair Adams and described his behavior as strange, confused, paranoid, He's really odd.
Acting that way constantly.
July 11th, 1996, construction workers find a body in a parking lot at an unfinished motel construction site on Crosswood Boulevard near I-40 in Knoxville. Police are able to identify the body as Blair Adams.
Really?
He was found about a half a mile from the original Fairfield Inn where he was checked, or, had a room, was checked in.
Huh. But didn't go in his fucking room. It's crazy.
His pants were taken down like someone had taken them off. Not like how you would take your pants off.
Right.
But like how someone might pull your pants off of you.
Yes.
His socks were inside out. His shirt was ripped open. And his shoes were off.
That's weird.
At this construction site. He appeared to have suffered a beating. He had numerous scratches on his body. And there was a fatal blow to the abdomen, which ruptured the stomach. And he had a defensive wound on his hand.
Brutally attacked.
He was also struck in the head. He had been beaten with some kind of metal bar, and they determined possibly been hit by a car because he had some road rash on his hands, as if he had fallen on the pavement pretty hard, or maybe had been dragged.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean...
He could have been beat with a piece of rebar. It's a construction site, right?
Right?
He's just been brutally beat and attacked in multiple ways, it sounds like.
And detectives speculated that maybe a car is what had hit him in the stomach and caused that serious trauma to his abdomen, because it whatever it was had hit him so hard it had caused the stomach to rupture.
Oh, God.
One of his shoes was underneath his head like a pillow.
Yeah.
Like someone had taken the shoe off and placed it under his head after the fact.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's something that someone else would do, right? But he's doing crazy shit. He could have done that, right? But he's been beat. It's so brutal. It's horrible.
Well, at the time of his death, he had no drugs or alcohol in his system. Police thought there had been some kind of sexual assault, but no DNA evidence was left behind, which could indicate that maybe it was with an object.
Yeah. Didn't think of that.
Again, his pants were pulled off and inside out, socks off, they're inside out. I mean, he was essentially naked from the waist down and his shirt was open.
With his shoe under his head like a pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
The interesting thing in all of this is that scattered around the body was $4,000, of American, Canadian, and German money. He had a fanny pack that he had been seen wearing in the surveillance videos, and that was found as well. And it had $2,000 in cash, jewels, gold.
Wow. So all his stuff.
All of his stuff.
All his valuables.
Get this. The key from the Toyota was found by the body as well.
Like it was on his person, you think?
Perhaps. Or someone threw it on the ground.
It's totally weird.
Cops thought it could have maybe been a robbery.
But all this money's laying
initially.
around.
That maybe the assailants didn't know he had the extra money on his person.
Fanny packs rock too. It's 96. They're big time.
But the weird thing is here, Blair knew no one in the area. So it wasn't like anyone knew he was there. That he called someone up and said, hey, I'm in town.
It's a happenstance that he is there.
And no one seemed to know why he left Canada. He hadn't told his mother. Everyone knew he was behaving oddly. And he did tell the one friend someone was trying to kill him. Right.
And he's been paranoid. Everybody meets him confused, paranoid, looking around. I mean, like, unease. So, yeah, but it's just all his valuables are strung around him. It's just crazy. It doesn't make sense. He rented this car in
Washington, D.C., took to the road, and didn't necessarily have a destination in mind.
Right.
Like, as you mentioned, it was just sort of random that he ended up in Knoxville, pulled over to gas up.
Happened to get locked out of his car.
Off of I-40.
He should be in his car going wherever the hell he's going, continuing.
Again, no one seemed to know why he had left Canada. The only explanation had been that someone wanted to kill him. So was he just suffering some kind of delusional paranoia, but then turns up murdered?
Beat all to hell and brutally murdered?
It's really a mystery.
Bludgeoned? That's crazy.
Was it a chance encounter with a bad person?
Or was it the person who had been after him this entire time finally caught up with him? How crazy is that?
Some witnesses claim that Blair was seen at a restaurant with a man on July the 10th, which would have been the day before the body was found.
Okay.
Other witnesses claim they heard a woman screaming around 3 a.m. There was a security guard who was working somewhere near this hotel construction site.
Yeah.
That reported thinking, there had been a woman screaming around 3 a.m.
I think it was him screaming and such a blood-curdling, because he was brutally beat and attacked, multiple ways. It sounds horrible. And that very well could have been him shrieking. You know what I mean? Like, just a blood, once it quits almost sounding human and gets guttural and is just like primal. Yeah, that type of horrible scream I hope I never hear.
Well, it also could have been that if someone was attacking Blair, there might have been a woman there who witnessed it and started screaming.
Yeah, because you are brutally beating this individual to death. Or even
if you're being beaten to death, you might be able to scream, but you might not, because you're sort of like shocked. You're being, someone's hitting you.
Yeah, I'd say shock would come in quickly to try to shield you.
In a 2010 interview with local law enforcement, they actually revealed that the Knoxville Police Department had never really received any kind of credible tip in Adams' death. They did have a composite sketch of a man that was released in the case, and this is a sketch of the man that the two women claimed to have witnessed Adams speaking with outside of that Cracker Barrel restaurant in Knoxville. But that man has never been identified.
Wow.
I know, right?
Fucking Cracker Barrels. Yeah. Bad shit happens around the Cracker Barrels, don't it?
Yeah.
Dude, salute him out in murder. He's down there eating with his kids. Don't want to come down there. Yeah, this one's a fucking Cracker Barrels, dude. Do not go in there for that delicious Southern style food.
It's true. And then the Skylar Neese case, what was it? Sheila Eddy was arrested in a Cracker Barrel parking lot.
Yes.
And then now here we have Blair Adams dead, probably at a Cracker Barrel.
At a fucking Cracker Barrel's dangerous.
Their BLTs are really good, though.
It's like shooting crackers in a barrel. See, that's what it means. Their BLT's off the chain.
There's some DNA evidence from a hair that was found on the body, but there was no match. You got to think in 2019, with all of these new cases opening up, like the Golden State Killer,
yeah,
there could be some sort of familial DNA match or something, maybe.
Yeah,
possibly.
I guess it could happen. You just never. Yeah, I mean, it could happen.
It was a longer strand of hair but they've never released whether it belonged to a man or a woman. Some theorize that it could have been a prostitute.
See, I didn't even know that any of those services handed your shit over, connected it to like public, federal law enforcement shit.
I don't think that they necessarily do, but
I think that
could be some case where maybe something was.
I think that one, it actually in the terms and the terms and agreement
or something.
Terms and agreement that people never read because it's like 60,000 words long, right? You just click accept and go and move on. I think it actually says in there on that particular site that they do that.
Well, they may. I don't know.
Yeah, and you give consent without actually knowing it. But that's crazy,
I'm not educated up on that yet.
No, it's like Big Brother.
That's why I refuse to do one of those DNA tests.
That's why I'm not done with it.
Because I know that it's just going to be funneled into some secret database that the government is watching me. And I'm not like a super paranoid conspiracy theory kind of person, but that is my conspiracy theory, that they're just collecting DNA on all of us.
Yes, profiles.
So they can fuck us up or something.
And they can track us and all that. So when the resistance starts, they will have our fucking DNA because I just wanted to be told that I was 0.0076% Scottish. And that I came from
Or perhaps they want to harvest your organs.
Yeah, and they want to check them out with the blood work.
So they're like testing everybody to find out like what their DNA is so they can harvest our organs, and it's going to end up being like the Matrix or something.
Yeah, well, baby, I'd be a good battery in the Matrix, right? I'm warm, right? I'm hot. I put off a lot of heat.
Well, again, if this long hair on this body was a prostitute, you'd think maybe she'd have a record.
Maybe.
Being a hooker.
You never know, unless she's a really good, crafty one that can run in high heels.
Well, and one reason why it's been theorized that it could have been a prostitute was, because his pants were down. Like maybe he had picked up this hooker and they were in the empty hotel parking lot. Because again, it was not that far away from his hotel.
And she brutally beat him to death?
Or maybe...
And left all the money?
They were in some kind of situation and someone else approached him and killed him, and maybe they robbed him and got some cash off of him but didn't know that he had all the other money in the fanny pack and in his pockets or something. I mean, who knows? Yeah,
it sounded like there was a wad of money missing because he was down to about 4,000 cash and he hadn't really done anything, you know what I mean? He might have blew through 1,000 or 700, but yeah, he was down in a wad of money, it sounded like. And when the shit goes down, it's easy to say, I took all the money and made sure shit's going down. It's crazy. Things happen.
Well, they may not have known what was in the fanny pack.
They happen fast. They might not have known. They might have been scared, get the hell out of there. Might have a handful of cash. Think that's all of it.
This whole story, I mean, it's unsolved and it just leaves questions. Of course, the big one being what happened to Blair Adams.
That's crazy. I think the prostitute theory I don't know. It seems like it would be. Or maybe they rolled him, right? Got him with his pants off and stuff, and we're going to kick his ass and take his money, the pimp or the friend or whatever, that whole gag. But it's so brutal.
Well, that's how they know it's not a suicide. I mean, even if he had been feeling depressed, anxious, having those types of feelings, a suicide, I mean, he couldn't have beat himself that way.
You're not going to brutally beat yourself to death.
No.
It's impossible, I think, right? What do you think?
Yeah.
If you hit yourself that hard, you would stop hitting yourself?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Then, of course, there's the theory it could have been an accidental hit and run.
Okay,
but that doesn't explain the possible sexual assault.
The clothes,
the
staging.
The pants down.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, there's the theory it's a homicide, which sounds plausible.
I guess none of these theories are natural causes, right?
Well, and, none of, a big chunk of the money was really taken. Maybe it was just a little bit of money. Again, was it a robbery gone wrong? Was this a case of a prostitute rolling a guy?
And it going too far?
Was someone really following him?
Did someone catch up to him? What crazy options? He could have been right that whole time. Everybody thought he was, crazy and paranoid.
What if it was some weird bullshit like he hired someone to kill him?
Yeah.
Because there was a case in Colorado, and I listened to a podcast. I think it was Sword and Scale that did an episode of this young girl who had hired a guy on Craigslist to kill her.
Okay, is that like a kink room thing?
And she was murdered, and then they